And I'll just do like an introduction.
Beautiful.
Okay. Hello, everyone, from the world of Zoom. We're just doing a fantastic recording podcast with sound healer Scott Mendoza. And this is an opportune time to share a frequency as well as the messages that come through. So we're just heading into a demonstration of Scott's ability to harness a beautiful frequency with the sound bowls that he has, and we'll see what comes through with the messages as well as the sound.
Greetings, beautiful soul. Thank you, Jack, for this interaction and this participation. I look forward to this co-creation and this third platform of interaction that we are creating in this now. As I say before most of all my sound healings, it's important to always think with your heart, to listen to your heart, and to always live through your heart, because that is our driving engine and our driving force. And so with the sound healing that I'm going to demonstrate, it's more or less stimulating to the cellular structure. It doesn't really go into your cochlear. It doesn't go into your ears per se. Now, of course, your ears will be manipulated and vibrated with this sound. But when you hear this sound, take deep cleansing breaths. And with each breath, you feel yourself slipping into more realization of yourself, more communication with yourself, and just more interactions with yourself. And so we'll just jump right on into it. And once again, I love you all dearly. Just remember the connections you have are the connections you are born with. Just remember, all that you interact with is merely another version of you. So if you treat these things in the same manner you treat yourself, the harmony will catapult you through success. Thank you very much, Jack, for allowing me to practice that, and maybe at the end I'll do a closing healing.
Not a problem. That sounds fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I hope that assisted anyone listening in on this broadcast, and it's definitely a modality, a part of the many frequency modalities that we believe and know to be very beneficial for what's to come. Understanding that every part of your existence is adhering to a frequency, to be in the construct, the physicality that you can see on the screen. You can see when you look at your hands, wherever you go. So if everything is in harmony, if everything is in sync with how it's supposed to function, so everything is abundant in terms of what you need to live your full potential, to access all wisdom and information from what you learn in your experience, but also accessing the stream of information that comes from the universe itself. As the universe itself can act as the Ethernet, the ether, where all sound and information flows through, and that's how you can connect with other intelligences that live on different planets, as well as going from within yourself, the organically inbuilt antenna that you have, and the frequency of the heart itself that spreads out to all spaces through the energetic field around Earth, and we're all connected to it. So when people get ideas or inner knowings, it can often be a collective consciousness that you're connecting to, subconsciously as well as consciously, if you're in that awareness in this moment. So yeah, to start off, it's just like being that individual, that soul that is in understanding of that we are one collective race, one race of humans, or a hue of many colors, a spectrum of colors expressing itself within the frequencies around us, through a looking glass, so to speak.
I like that word.
So yeah, but yeah, definitely. I want to cover a few different topics, whatever flows through as well organically, just to kind of widen the spectrum of possibilities, which is part of like not limiting yourself to the present opportunity and the future opportunity of moments, to kind of touch upon what's the most important at this time, especially going into 2017.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like yesterday I was sitting with like a group of new friends, more star seeds that, I just happened to overhear a conversation from dinner at this nice place, and I was like, whoa, like this is so exciting. You hear people talking about negative entities or negative energies, or low vibrational expressions that are affecting someone within a space like a house or in a bedroom, and how they can kind of assist themselves to clear that space, because the low frequency is actually causing dis-ease, or as we call disease. And like the person's mum was actually suffering and getting sick and sicker, so they had to find a way to kind of bring that harmony back into that space, so that the higher frequencies can come in a bit more clearly. So
that kind of leads into, like you were saying, at the end of 2016 leading into 2017. If you were to really look at those in like numerological terms or energetical terms, in a sense, 2016, why has it been so crazy, right? Like, why has it been so wicked and wild and, controversial in all facets of the globe? Not just, the UK, not just the United States, not just Elko, not just Syria. It's been chaotic everywhere. And really, there's an underlying detail. And that is 2016 is representative of ending of ending of a cycle of perpetuation that has been perpetuated for eons and eons. Like I said, 100 years ago, people would get burned at the stake for saying certain things. And so now that we have this present awareness in our lives, it's not like, well, I use an American NFL analogy, right? It's 2016. The National Football League Association knows that there is injuries and so forth. they don't, in tomorrow, like there's a game tomorrow, they don't go back to old ways of thinking and utilize that technology. They don't use leather helmets no more. They don't use minimal padding. They have thick helmets, padding, and all kinds of impact, diverting ideas. And so what it would look like today is them trying to go play this current sport, this current idea with all the old technology and all the old ideas. It would just look so nonsensical, so ignorant, not even ignorant. It just looks so like out of place, if you will. And that's what happens when people try to utilize old ways of thinking today. If you know somebody in your life that tries to utilize, like, well, that's on her own fault, she's a bitch, or utilizing judgment, that individual gets highlighted and they're like their hair's on fire. You can't pass by them without thinking to yourself, how does this make me feel? Especially if you had you lightened up on yourself and you have a bit of, desire to be more. And so at the end of 2016, all of these, these cycles of our parents, these cycles of our grandparents, the cycles of us, because we were those people, right? Just different versions. So therefore, we're having all this collection and all this congregation at the very end. And just look at any child that, goes through maturity. At the end of their pubescence, they're kicking and screaming, wanting to fight and all these other things. And then once they get into puberty, it's twice as bad. You think that the terrible threes are over. Now we're going to the next, I'm 4 years old. It's going to get better. Well, the older you get, it's not that it gets better. It's just you have more awareness to do more things. That's all. That's all it is. One thing that I've learned is when I elevate my way of thinking, simply put, it's not that all the negativity in my life dissolves and goes away and in a nice fancy box. No. It's there. It's there for me to say, you know what? How do I feel about this? Do I choose to, initiate my energy towards it, or should I just allow it to be what it is and just, allow it to be that it's isness. It just is. Let it go. Bye bye. And that's what the end of 2016 really is. It's an opportunity of space and time for people to really let go of things that they've been holding on to for so many eons. I mean, old ways of belief, old ways of living, ideologies, you name it. I mean, you're starting to watch it dissolve. And no wonder all over the news and all over the media, all over the world, it's in such of an upheaval because they're trying to show people things that they know in their heart is not true. They know in their heart does not sync up with them on their path of their lives. So therefore, it immediately, it's like, well, no, discernment starts to come into play. And, I used to think discernment was a judgment unto itself, but it's really not, because it's how you feel. There's no judgment in how you feel, because it just is. That's what we're all, we just are. We are that we are because we am. I am that I am, right? It's the I am principle of it all. And so therefore, it allows me to get into a space and place at the end of 2016 right now. Matter of fact, leading up into this holiday, this Christmas holiday, I'm starting to see things in a positive light because I choose to. That's the key, is you have to choose to be in that space, in that place. Whether it's consciously or subconsciously, either way, there has to be a choice. Like there's that beautiful thing called free will that we have been given, that we gave to ourselves. So, we can go into 2017 without fixing anything, without, clearing up anything. Sure, absolutely. But will you tie your shoes together? More than likely. Will you start having negative synchronicity in your life? More than likely. Not a guarantee, though. Not a guarantee, because everything's probable, or everything's possible, rather. But what's really probable for you as an individual? How is it? Is it going to manifest? Think to yourself. And that, for me, is what the end of 2016 really has been. It's been all these collections stacked on top of each other. And with this level of awareness that I have, I don't go into sound healing temples. I don't go in. I've been there before, and I meditate with my colleagues and so forth. But where I take my enlightenment, I take it to the leading edge of life, in a sense. And the leading edge of life is on the front lines. It's your neighbor, it's your mother, it's your friends, it's you, it's your work, it's at the bank, it's at the grocery store, it's everywhere. It's not just in the little room or the little space and place where you meditate. And I've taken this concept and I've put myself in a meditative perspective ongoing. So it's almost as if like I meditate as I walk. I meditate as I move. The movement in itself is the meditation, as opposed to going into a location and centering myself. And I've been I have been taking this notion to the leading edge, because that's where I feel in my heart. Of course, it's different for everybody, of course. But in my heart, I need to be on the leading edge with others that have their light wisdom burned out. Their candle of wisdom has been blown out by the winds of time. And so through all this eons of understanding, I take my wisdom and I take my light and I go into the darkest of the dark, and my light shines like a beacon. It shines like a lighthouse. So folks that are in the choppy ways of their life and misunderstanding can see my lighthouse in the distance. And they might be chopping it up, boom, 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 God damn, what is all that? But they see this light in the distance and know that it can be done. Not that it has to be done, but it can be done. And that in itself is a huge, huge imprint for me as a human, as an individual, because I think that absolutely I can go into the ashrams in India. I could go to these spiritualistic places, and I do. But I also know in my heart that it doesn't stop there. It continues while you're grocery shopping. It continues while you're at the bank. It continues while you pump gas. No matter if you've defined those things negatively or positively, it's all changed, because the secret is that 2017 is not your father's metaphysics. People, it is not. It is, and I'm not even going to say it's a new age either. It's new altogether. It's something that hasn't even been experienced before, because you have all this wisdom bait up and all this awareness bowed up into this now moment, and it's intersecting. And what coalesces out of there is your true natural self, like I said, if you allow it.
Yeah, like 2016 was, for many, including myself, and probably yourself, adding onto that, a time to reflect, a time to experience echoes of the past, and deciding, as was mentioned, whether the past experiences or relationships that you have with people, with your girlfriend or boyfriend, whether it is serving you anymore, in the sense that, it's not selfish to decide to nurture yourself, to access and heal what needs to be faced eventually, no matter what. The longer you stretch it out, the more condensed and intense it becomes, because it's like you said, it repeats itself until you face it and see, okay, this is the reality, without the illusions of what you create and what is created in front of you. And you say, I release, I let go of all that does not serve me anymore, and I welcome abundance, I welcome love, and I welcome the adventure that is abundant and ahead of me. So in each corner, in each and every corner of your experience, as you go within the city, within your suburb, wherever you are, there's an opportunity in each moment to create consciously an experience with someone that you express a word to, or a physical activity. And when you're in the moment and being mindful of and leading from the heart space, especially, then you're energetically connecting with that person, and you're inspiring that person to reflect that back to you, because you are in certain respects, a reflection of that person that you're interacting with. As I kind of touched upon yesterday when I was interpreting the messages through my oracle readings to both my friends, and then kind of talking deeply into how we can connect to the different energies in regards to the higher frequency entities, dimensional entities that live in going into fifth dimension, going up to 10th dimension, 12th, and even going up to, I mean, it's very hard to conceive and fathom or even know whether it's possible to connect with a frequency and intelligence that lives on the 24th dimension. But let's just think about the 12th and the higher the frequency, the more complex the information coming in is, and the more harmonious and more oneness everything is, and without any duality or separation. You come into that space when you go into that fifth dimension, going away from the 3D, third dimensional earthly concepts that have served us all to a certain extent, but it is at that tipping point, and it's we're going into 2017 on a new canvas where we can do anything that we choose to, when we choose to be conscious of it and come into realization of the nature of consciousness and how powerful we are when we project the message from our minds into the universe, and being in knowing of we are the fractal of the universe. We're the micro of the universe, and the universe that we see at nighttime is the macro, the bigger picture that's being shown to us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was interesting. You were talking about the relationships, that you have when you go out through society and so forth. And, there wasn't a lot of information as I was on this journey of self-discovery on how your significant other or your girlfriend or boyfriend or your whatever reacts to the level of awareness raising within you. Because there has been, I'm a married man, I have a wife, and it was an interesting learning curve for me to embody all this information and embody all of this love and light. And I'll kind of peel the wool back just slightly. My wife effectively doesn't meditate, doesn't really get into spirituality a whole lot, she's a quote unquote everyday person. But the kicker is the woman knows herself. She knows who she is and what she's capable of. And it's almost as if she skipped over the ability to need spirituality to find herself. And it's intriguing now as I go down the road of finding myself, I come in contact with what a relationship is really all about. And let's break the word down phonetically. Relationship. Relaying ships. You relay the information like a ship between each one of you. You have to keep an open line of communication. You have to keep an open line of desire, love, and acceptance. And as I'm coming down this road, I was, in a sense, pulling back from telling my wife certain things because I had judgment, because I had it was taboo. I mean, let's just face it. I'm singing bowls and channelings and overtones and so forth. For a person who doesn't study these things, it could look a little bit different, for simply that. And so there for a minute, I kind of allowed it to affect me. And like I said before, it's a choice. And if you allow it to affect you, whoever's listening to this right now, if you allow it to affect you, you're going to see that effect within their eyes. You're going to see that effect within their actions of the person that's relaying the information to you. Because all they're doing is relaying that undetermined nature that is residing within you. Because all they can do is they can go off of what you give them. And so there for a little while, I'm getting this feedback loop, right, from my wife saying that, Well, it may not be doing it the right way. You may want to organize and try and, focus it in a specific direction. And to all the guys out there, I'm telling you, if you look at your wife or your girlfriend, not in the nagging mentality, but you look at it an opportunity to learn more about yourself, watch how fast the argument dissolves.
Mm.
Watch how fast she just runs into your arms and you do the vice versa. Because unless and until you drop that wall and that barrier, because the masculine energy by design is not innately immediate compassionate. It's not. It's more about collecting, organizing, and making things in a hierarchy, in a sense. And the beautiful thing is once you start going down this road of self-discovery and you start listening, really listening to the person that is in the relationship. They're just relaying information about yourself that you need to learn. And the more that you open to it, the more that it floods. And like you said, 2016 is the end of all these relationship issues. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
of course, it's the beginning of more, because the end is also the beginning always. But the fact is there's people that may be listening right now like, dang, I had such a hellacious week this past week, or this past month, or this past year has been the worst relationship I've ever had in my life. And that's only because before you got to that point, and not to cast any judgment, by no means necessary, but by the time you got to 2016, January 1st, you had no intuition, you had no intention of even going down this road, because who likes to go down the negative road, right? And so therefore we co-create certain things in our lives, be manifested, to learn certain ways. And yes, it looks funny. Yes, it's annoying. Yes, the woman's is arguing, or the men's arguing, or whatever, but do not pay attention to that, because the circumstances never matter. Only what matters is how you feel about it, what the state of being that you manifest from it, or that you manifest towards it, or in and around it. That's what's the most important thing. And my state of being, the way I think, my thought process is what has been the sail to allow me to sail across this ocean of misunderstanding, this vast ocean of, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. Why did I do it? Why was I a slave? Why was I this? Why was I that? Why? And now it doesn't matter, because we have all this awareness, and you think to yourself, why not? And then it just opens up, and you're like, well, okay, well, why not? Because I got this experience, I got that experience, I brought that back to the ether, I brought that back to the eidolonic field, I brought these all experiences and supported the collective. So even the smallest of things that we've done in 2016, it has the biggest of changes. Because if you look in terms of a mechanical like a clock or a gear or life, we'll say all that is like a bunch of gears. And if you change the slightest gear, they all have to turn. They all have to change in order to make this other one change. If one changes, they all do. So any tiny, baby, little, smallest, minute change, fractal change, is a massive change on the whole scheme of things. And so going into 2017, those that think, well, I didn't do anything in 2016 to get no, like, I'm sorry, but you did. If you're listening to this now, you did. You have done enough. You are doing enough. You are that you are. And thank you for being you. That's what's important.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a very exciting time and a great opportunity to go into 2017 with the understanding of the current energies, the current frequencies that are coming onto Mother Earth from the galactic core, the galactic sun, is actually activation of the next stage of existence, or taking certain planets, planes of existence, back to where they should be in harmony with the rest. You have certain intelligences from Andromeda, for example, who are innately connected with Gaia, like their planet, and their planet's consciousness is talking to our planet and its consciousness. And if one does not uplift with the other, then they will postpone that until they work together, like the white cells in your body working together to come back into balance and harmony in health, and co-creating in one unified way. So in that sense, it's like you really get a sense of how the universe is like the body itself, what's happening within us as well. If there's a problem within our body, then we know about it. Like there's an indication given, no doubt about it, and that's the healthy bodies or cells telling you, oh, there's like a hole here, there's a gap that needs to be filled and repaired. Pay attention to it. Otherwise, that pain is going to increase more and more and get inflamed. And going from that, I think for many of us, it will be a time of coming into our truer form, our core selves, and also awakening, because the awakening is constant. It's going to be constant until the whole collective will be in awareness of, being able to be in a state of heaven, so to speak. They speak of it in many texts, in many religious texts. We're trying to anchor down the reality, the frequencies, to help us kind of just be at the end of the day. Like some people have said, without ego, without creating another layer of separation, we need to kind of continue highlighting and learning from each other and what we see within any platform, whether it's digital or physical. So yeah, just being excited.
That ties in perfect. That really ties in perfectly for what the next thing I was going to touch on. And just maybe within this month, rather, we'll just go there. Me and another individual by the name of Delta Starseed. He's on Facebook and what have you, and me and him have created this idea called First Contact Specialist Society. And really, what that is all about is it's the notion of collecting people together globally in a unified concept of first contact, and training, in a sense, or conversating amongst each other the tools needed to make first contact in order to make and support concepts available for ETs and ET consciousness to physically be present among us in the future, or in the now, rather. And the very, very first foundational cornerstone for the building block for this entire concept is you have to make contact with yourself. First and foremost, that's what the first contact is all about. Contact of the first kind, right? It's where you get to know yourself. You know thyself. Because like you said, in different texts, in ancient manuscripts and religious, forms and so forth, they all say you must know thyself, right? And that is it's a golden rule, rather, because if you desire to interact with ETs, you desire to interact with, consciousness or channelings from other places and so forth, if you truly don't know yourself, you won't know who to keep and who to get rid of. So therefore, you start adopting and adapting towards whatever the higher frequency is. If your frequency is lower than it, you're going to adopt their personality construct. You're going to start having attributes about yourself that aren't really true to your core. Rather, you're going to start doing things out of norm, like out of sequence, rather. And it's very important for me in the journey that I am to express to people in their lives and collect and connect them together and like, hey guys, as long as we know ourselves and we maintain our ego to a certain degree, because that's the other key, is you must, in a sense, not must, because you shouldn't do, there's no must in anything, but it's beneficial in my perspective, in my own journey, that if I maintain my ego to a degree, that allows my personality construct to grow into more of itself. If I don't have an ego, there's nowhere to grow from. You start out it's like a fire sale. You get rid of all of your belief system. You get rid of everything, and then you're psychotic. That's where psychosis truly comes from, is from this concept when you don't know who you are. You don't know thyself. And exorcisms and all of these things are from people who don't know who they are. They may be a Joe Schmo down the street who has a job at Safeway Grocery, but the ultimate thing is they don't know who they are or what they contain or what they can do as a spirit, as a person, as a sovereign being. So once you get in contact with these ideas, you start knowing yourself, then you reach out. And the contact of the second kind is to your community and your family and friends. You reach out to those that are close to you. You start interacting with them in compassionate, active ways. You start demonstrating to them things that are riddled with love and compassion. You don't go to them and say, you see the UFO from Orion? I just seen it shoot across the sky. Like, that's not the conversations. It may be the conversations, but in my experience, the way that I've gotten across towards, regular, here we go, with the quotation marks, the regular everyday people, right? You can see my air quotes. Those people, you have to almost get to their level. In the same way, if you know Bashar, channeled by Daryl Anka, the only way that he comes through with his information is he lowers his frequency slightly, and Daryl raises his frequency slightly, and so they meet in the middle and they lockstep and create this third platform of communication. And that is where I'm really reveling. I'm reveling in that location, that locale frequency, because in that moment you can jar and unlock people from their own shit. I mean, how many people that I know personally? I think it's a few that have adopted their family's beliefs and their friends' beliefs to such a degree they don't have one of their own. And you ask them, how do you feel about this? And they'll just regurgitate whatever their father told them or whatever their friend told them, right? And so this is important for me to demonstrate these things and to broadcast these things, so people, in the same way that they discovered flight, right? That, like you said, it's a collective thing. Once it's in one part of existence, it's in all part of existences. And when somebody is getting close to that idea, they just resonate like a tuning fork right towards that sucker, and they're bam, they discover it. And then it's like self-discovery. Well, it's been really merely planted in a sense, but you can feel that way. Please feel like you discovered it, because that gives it way more magnitude and multitudes of interactions that come from it. It's so amazing. It truly is. And when people say that, I don't know what the hell is going on with the world today. The world's going to hell fast. Well, I'm here to tell you, the world's going to hell and heaven at the same goddamn time. It's up to you to experience either one. That's what it's all about, is because all is now, all is here. It's up to each and every one of us to interact with it like a manipulator of a video game, rather. We can pause it, we can play it, we can restart. There's a multitudes of things that we can do with our own psyche, because that's where our soul, our corporeal existence, it resides. It resides within your being. And your being is part psychology, part ideology, part energy. It's many. That's why it's fractal. It's fractalized. So that way, I knew, you knew, the creator knew that if it made it less fractal, it would be more complex. The more fractals it created, the less complexity that there was, because that's the divine paradox of creation. The more of it means there's more to spread around. I mean, I have fish tank hobbies, right? I love to aquascape and create ecosystems inside of aquariums and so forth. This is what I like to do on the side as well. And if you take a small fish tank and you don't drain the water over an extended period of time, all the toxins and ammonias and nitrates and everything start to build in the water column. If you don't change, you don't drain half the water out, it's going to stay there. But the key is the bigger the source of water, the less often you have to change the water, because the parameters are larger in a bigger body of water. And that's just like life, we're made of 70-80% of water ourselves. Like you said, we're antennae, we're a biological receiver of information and energy. So if you clear and cleanse your body, you can go into 2017 ready to roll. I mean, you are ready to just get it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. It's like some people are actually finding themselves experiencing 2017 already. Like it's already
Yes.
happening. It's like you're getting pulled towards January, and we're in it right now at this very moment, because uh, whatever label it is, it's only a label. It's a creation of something that we've kind of come up with ourselves to kind of
Mm-hmm.
as a guidance kind of construct. Um,
Certainly.
so we could just say, oh, it is 20 something. What are you talking about? It's not the 23rd of December 2016.
Right, right. Time is
And
an illusion, that's for sure.
yeah, and there's also this subject of um, the Mandela effect that has been kind of gaining
Yeah.
momentum in relation and connection in relationship with frequency and the heightening of Gaia's frequency, the experiences that we're having of the sound of booms from the Earth's
Mm,
core shifting,
yes.
and then also the frequency rebounding. And as Gaia cracks open its mantle to a certain degree, enough so it can receive the frequency from the galactic core more effectively and directly, so it can
Mm-hmm.
then rebound and spread out throughout the Earth, like a bit like a tuning fork or a bell, so it kind of
Mm-hmm.
gets there as soon as possible. Um, and
Have
you
you?
know,
I don't mean to
mm,
interrupt you. Have you read any research into Bell's theorem?
Bell's theorem, not specifically, no, just what
Yeah,
I've come
check
across.
that out. Yeah, check that out, because it talks about the bell-shaped curve of existence. And anybody listening
Mm.
right now, just for the research base, check out Bell's theorem. It's very intriguing.
Okay, yeah, definitely. Very intriguing with all different information and books and texts. Um, you know, just as a side note, the multi-layered nature of realities and dimensions, uh, and we're living among different intelligences at this very moment. Some of them are just watching us and learning from us, in the same nature that the dark and the light are looking at each other and
Mm-hmm.
observing each other in each moment. While the light
One word. There's a word, Sasquatch. There you go.
Sasquatch, yeah,
Yeah, they're stewards. They're a watcher. They're a viewer.
yeah, definitely. I mean, I've come into observance of interdimensional Sasquatches, and this was like when I was about 6 years old, and we were like ghost hunting in this little museum in my school, and this was when I was about 5, 6 years old, and
Mm-hmm.
you see this white light, this door open up, like you see a light here on the side. Um,
Uh-huh.
and you suddenly see a being coming in to existence. Like there's no hand here, and now it's coming into existence.
Oh, yeah, phasing.
Yeah. So,
Oh, wow.
this being is like psychedelic, like colored, like it's
Oh, huh.
the shifting energies, as
Mm-hmm.
well as you're having what we call ghosts, like Victorian lady or man, and each of
Yes.
them even though they're not physically existing, they still exist as an energy, and when
Oh
they
yeah.
resonate with your frequency, they stop and look at you and give recognition that you're existing. They can see you because you're
Hmm.
within the bandwidth, the frequency, to actually see them, and they can see you
I'm actually
at the
glad that
same.
you touched on spirits and apparitions and ghosts and so forth, because
Mhm.
that ties back into the notion of the first contact specialist society. And when you know yourself, that's where that really stems from, in my opinion, in my perspective, is if when an entity is cruising along in life and they're just totally oblivious to existence and just anything around them, they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're so focused on corporeal reality, that's all that is there. What they do is they don't lose, but they blind their connection towards source. They blind their connection towards themselves and to all things. And so when they have a traumatic experience, as far as accident, they're dying, passing, what happens is they get stuck. Almost, I want to say stuck because nothing's ever stuck, but they get put in this perpetuating cycle. Like I said before, it's a perfect circle. It only knows thyself, so it keeps recreating those last moments of existence over and over and over and over to find itself, to know thyself, because the human being, the light being that it innately is, knows that the answer is within it, and they just have to experience. They have to. It's in here somewhere. I just have to dig through it. It's innate in our body, in our hearts, and our minds, and our soul, to continuously dig and dig and find. I need to figure this out. And so, when you don't know who you are when you pass, these things have an opportunity of happening. By no means is that a fear thing, and by no means is that a threat or nothing of that nature. But it's just pull the veil back just slightly. And why do the ghosts just stay there? Why are
Mhm.
they why are they wispy in a sense? Is because they're half in and half out. They're half in existence and corporeal reality, and they're half out.
Mhm.
And they're in that stasis of undetermined nature. And so, the way to dissolve that is have recognition, like you said, through corporeal reality. You give them recognition. Once they obtain recognition, then they feel a part of existence once again, and then they exist, and then poof, they're gone.
Mhm.
And you could do that. You could give energies in it, and it all translates in a similar way. If you do seances, you do exorcisms, you do anything of this nature, because in one of my videos, I did a Q&A session before I did a Q&A channeling session. And I was talking in the beginning of how, the human body is sovereign in itself. The human body, there is nowhere to put anything. It's not like you can open up your, I lost my headphones. It's not like you can open up like your spiritual pocket and start jabbing and stuffing an entity in your pocket. Like, here we go, jabbing it. No, the entities that you're interacting with, if you are, to whoever's listening, is you. It's a version of you. You have to agree to raise or lower your level of mentality to equate that other. Because there's never going to be a forcing. It may look like Satan's trying to force you into things, but that's just your own. It's you. It's you in your own mind pushing forth these thoughts and equating that harmonization of thought process, and which amplifies it even more. Once you equate it and build that bridge, fuck, a whole house could drive across it. An entire army of Satan's army can drive across it, because you've allowed it. You've opened this pipeline, just like anything else, just like any angelical understanding. You open up yourself, and you vibrate, and you vibrate to such a level of purity. You have an opportunity to interact with these things. Not that you will or won't, but you have an opportunity. And the
Mhm.
same goes, as above, so below. And people need to understand that, it's not a value judgment or nothing of this nature, but people have to know that it's not always about the light. The light is beautiful and it's amazing, and that's where the evolution process is. But that's not the only part of creation.
Mhm.
And as we get higher in our levels of thinking and higher in our ways of design, rather, the more we integrate the negativity, the more we raise our awareness toward it. Because like I said, in the modern day, trying to use old NFL helmets, like if you broadcasted it on TV today, people would be like, what the fuck? What are these guys doing? They're so nonsensical. Use the correct stuff, you know? And that's what it's like today. Use the modern current technology as far as the I am, as far as the co-creation of realities. You can use those other concepts, you know. You have to have pain and gain and all these other old energy concepts. Sure, because they're still archetypally there because they're part of existence. What do they say? Whatever exists has existed and ever shall. So that's there. But it's like, what does it mean to you? And what will you do with it?
Yeah, most definitely.
Interesting.
So fascinating. And just to try to keep things on the level, on the earth plane as well, a lot of people have questions, as they will when they come into further understanding of what's beyond the veil of what's been otherwise presented on media and TV. Like me personally, I found myself getting to a point in 2011 where there was this resistance, like a part of me, my higher self, was kind of forcing me to punch through the energy and to realize that, hey, you have so much potential. There's something beyond this, and you're literally feeling like you're getting pushed down. And
yes,
it was like a realization, like, I don't really need TV. Like, is it really? Is it helping me? Like, all I see is fear mongering and scarcity every day. Like, there's this minute bit of good news about a puppy dog or whatever, but 98% of it is like, go out, buy this to make you feel better. Go out, buy this to make you look better or feel better. It's just it's lunacy to highest degree in observation of what it is, without being in the frame of mind of actually passing negative judgment upon someone, that someone is this. Just that when you come out of the view of what was and what really is, you start to see that everyone around you is programmed like a robot. The movements they make is like in synchronous kind of action on a train, on a bus, on their phones. There's what I heard recently, like cyber addiction or technological addiction with the phones. It's like, you can't sit for one moment and just take a deep breath and be present within yourself, because you don't know if there is anything that will come to you that's going to kind of create that joy within yourself, that stability. And certain substances, for example, psychedelics, like Terence McKenna and talks about, especially, and Alan Watts takes it into a very philosophical nature, a very grounded nature, and so does Terence. But he goes the next step. He's pushing as far as he can beyond the mentality, and exploring the different realms of psychology and consciousness, what exists. And what he's trying to express is that you're not your culture, like the culture in a dish. You aren't the culture in the dish. You are more than that. It's exciting to be able to just be and explore and pick from each moment, each experience, to encompass and create that puzzle that becomes you. And in that sense, it creates self-empowerment, and people are kind of like asking, especially the younger generations, with the economy crashing, and like you said, it's scary. Like, I don't know what's going to happen beyond next month, whether I'll have a job or not, or whether I have a chance to have a future. And without when you reach a certain point in your consciousness, in awareness, you think to yourself, I don't really need labels necessarily to make sense of it per se, but just to have a vocabulary of understanding of where I'm going and what it is that I'm experiencing, and always understanding that, like water itself, the structure is changing with the influence that it's
Yes.
receiving. And like you said, the water within our body contains memory, and it
Mm-hmm.
contains wisdom throughout time, and also going into the genetics and the DNA structure. We have the 12-strand DNA that's to a group of us in knowing that it's composed of not just earthly stuff, but galactic kind of information, codes to kind of switch on like lights. Like I described in when I was doing one of my readings, when you're tuning in, when you're going into yourself and taking that breath and being conscious with the breath, being mindful of and letting go of the layers of chatter that you don't need, or seemingly thoughts that are yours but not yours, then you're able to kind of tune in and kind of imagine that you are switching those genetic potentials on like a switch, and imagine that, use your consciousness, your imagination to really go on that adventure and seeing where you can go with it, and just having fun at the end of the day, and not taking life too seriously. Reminding yourself that you are a eternal being, eternal soul, and you're a shard of the source creator, or the source frequency that creates the potential of becoming a sovereign, unique being.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, the nature of fractality, or fractal nature of
Mm-hmm.
expression, it's continual. It's always looking for the next experience, whether it's so-called the dark side or the negative.
Right.
um, you have to embody and understand from an observational standpoint or a participational standpoint.
You know
It,
what's intriguing
hmm,
is you're talking about the higher levels of beings and so forth, and as I was starting to learn of existence of beings and higher densities and levels and creations rather as well, I started thinking to myself, like, how can they be unempathetic? How could they not care? But I had an aha moment maybe a year ago or so, and I started thinking to myself, positivity is biased. Negativity is biased. Both are biased towards the balance of the two. And so the only place of true enlightenment to lighten up on either side of the exactly dead center, square in the middle. And so as you raise your level of awareness, let's say low level of awareness, right? You're in the negative perspective. It's detractive, it's separative, it's destructive, and then you go up a couple of notches in whichever fashion that you do. You start raising your elevation. You're like, oh, let's not do the bad things. Let's do the good things. The good things in life are definitely going to get me to this level, and that's fantastic. It's the linear perspective of the evolution of our psyche. And once you get to a point and you're like, well, this is good and the bad's good, and that's bad, and that's cool, and this is cool. And then you start seeing both sides of the equation. And at first, me and personally, individually, I felt like Stretch Armstrong. I was being stretched in both directions. Oh, I got to stretch myself. I have to understand you, and oh, I have to understand you, and just know that I understand both of you. And screw it. I got to a point where it didn't matter if I voiced my understanding or not. It only mattered if I felt the understanding or not, and if I acted upon the understanding or not. Had compassionate action towards it. And so therefore I start to understand and level and understand why, the 12th density being doesn't really have empathy towards the Ethiopian child that doesn't eat. Because it starts to go beyond that. It starts to go to like themes, energetics, and understandings and co-creations and things that most people don't look like. If you're driving down the highway and most people, whoever's listening, you got cut off or you've seen somebody get cut off and they're like beep and they honk their horn, give them the middle finger. Those individuals are not present. They are not present in their own life, because if they are present in their own life, they would understand, hey, that person's having a bad day. It's not my day, it's their day. They're having a bad day. So I'll give them the space because I'm present in my own life and I see the gift present to give this person in that space. And so, it starts to redefine all these negative aspects, these negative perspectives, and they start having a benefit, because it was a huge liberating, freeing fact when I started liberating myself from the negative perspective. Not that it's a ball and chain and I have to integrate it. Oh my God. Like, no, not necessarily. Just do what you feel is in your heart. And get on the surfboard and ride the wave. Don't dive into it and get drowned and flipped around and get scraped against the coral reefs and what have you. No, get on your surfboard and ride the crest, ride the wave into the next, to the next, to the next. And before you know it, you never even knew there was a reef there. You never even knew there was sharks below you, because you're just riding that crest in bliss. All the other things don't matter. It's not that you try to change it. It's just you let it be.
Yeah, I mean, we see it every day. I mean, most days I'm kind of thinking I'm pretty lucky that I'm not driving in the car, because I see people just 2 seconds away from my place on this corner where they have to turn in and go down this, decline of a street, and people are just always pushing the envelope, adrenaline rush to kind of maybe feel alive, like, I'm alive, I actually can do it. And while risking their life and their existence, instead of like really exploring not the vehicle that they're sitting in, but the vehicle that they reside in as a soul, without getting too preachy about it, but just people are really getting shaken to awaken, as I put it, with that meme that I found of Donald Trump's head on Miley Cyrus on a wrecking ball. It was like, I really want to kind of express that. Try not to take it in a negative fashion. Try to see that you're being shaken like a can of Coke or whatever, to kind of really act upon and come back into awareness of, hey, I don't really want that. So if I don't want that, then what can I do about it? Instead of like being like, I'm comfortable with Hitler and Obama or what be and just continue that illusion of comfort. So you're touching upon that, and just realize that you're going into a time right now where a lot of shifts are going, and when the shifts are going, a lot of accelerations in our existence are happening at this very moment, especially going from September this year. There was a choice made by the collective consciousness that they do not wish to experience this old paradigm, this old structure that's been around for 10,000 plus years. as
Mm-hmm.
the sinking of Atlantis. And
Yes.
we're coming
Very
back
important.
to a culmination, yeah, definitely. And I see like a melding of different aspects of different ages, including the 60s, the flower power movement,
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X, and um,
Oh yeah.
you know, all the well-known speakers, all of them
Mm-hmm.
recognize what
Certainly.
your whatever your skin color. Um, what's his name? Martin Luther King is
Uh-huh.
one person that or should always be recognized for his attempt in, um,
Shift.
shifting the perspective and saying, as we know, you can't solve hate with hate, and like Bruce Lee saying that you can be the stream of water. You can be the water that goes into a bottle or a bowl. It's always able to adapt itself and change all the time without
Yes.
becoming limited. And it's nature trying to teach you, in essence, that uh, you're in this vehicle, but you're able to exude uh, limitless potential.
Hmm.
And when higher dimensional perspectives or intelligence look down at us from their ships, the light ships, consciousness-based technologies, they actually are amazed and in awe and in respect of how we can exert so much energy, so much effort in actually creating the physical manifestations of objects, and let alone ourselves, to actually achieve what we are here to achieve. Where they've been around for eons and eons, to a point where they just press a button or we think about
Yeah.
something and it manifests
Boom.
instant. It's there because the frequency is so high and in resonance. Um, so we find ourselves going into that type of frequency where our thoughts dictate our reality. The feeling is about the feeling that you have. The feeling is intelligence. The feeling is a thought pattern.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the projector that you have here. The projector here is just taking what's within the body, what's being felt, and then translating it into what you see, or attracting that which you are projecting, which is very powerful in realization.
Absolutely. And you were talking, I'll take it back to what you were talking about,
Mm.
the age of technology, people having this technology addiction, right? And I'll connect and correlate it to Atlantis. And 10,000 years ago, or whatever have you, when the day and age of Atlantis, they had similar technology as we have today, if not even higher conscious technology.
Mm.
But the one thing that they did not have that we have today is the love. The love factor is overwhelmingly higher today than it was then, if you will. And
Mm-hmm.
that's in a sense what led to their demise, is they were so drilled around technology. They were so organized around advancement of understanding of technologies and weapons and different utilization tools like levitation and teleportation and particleization and all of these different concepts and cymatics and what have you, building temples and all of these things. But the one thing they were doing slowly and surely is they were getting out of their heart and moving into their head. They're moving into the logistical portion of their brain and their coherence and their cortex. They're moving to the frontal cortex of their brain from their heart. And inadvertently, what that did was that disconnected them from nature. It disconnected them from source energy in a sense. And so when that happened, the being called Gaia, this planet in itself, it understood and recognized the disharmonization that existed within this planet. And so in that moment, coupled with the intentions of the Atlanteans themselves, they drew upon a comet or a meteor or an asteroid, whatever you'd like to call it, and it drew, based off of their intentions and their actions, it drew it like a magnet towards this planet. And over the course of time, there was people, of course, that resided in that society that were in the heart space, but
Mm-hmm.
those are the ones that kept the mystery schools alive all these 10,000 years. They're the ones that drove underground and so forth. So
Mm.
over the course of time, you had these people, these priests, and these Atlantean brotherhoods of light and so forth, telling the population, like, look, you have to think with your heart. You have to live through your heart. You get away from the smart glass. Get away from the quote unquote their version of computer. Get away from these things. Go out to nature. Pick a flower. Smell a flower. Watch a bird fly, things of these natures, and connect back to source, because that's where the initial source energy between the human and source energy resides. If you feel like you've disconnected, how many people go on vacation to go see sights, right? They go see the countryside, and they go see the mountains because it makes them feel better. It's a cathartic experience because that's our divine connection. And so the reason why I bring that up is because now we'll fast forward 10,000 some odd years to today. We're in this cycle of transition. We're in this 2016 added together as a cycle of nine, which representative of ending of an old and the beginning of a new. The next number is 10 in the symbology here. So 10 equates to 1 0. So there's a 1 and a 0. There's all possibilities that could be coexistent. Because if you look at computers themselves, they're only built off of binary code anyways, 1 and a 0. So if you look at that as far as a codex, as far as a blueprint and a guideline for what could be possible in 2017, that is with the osmosis that you've integrated and you've conversated with yourself, and you've put to rest all the things that are been digging at you in a sense, or just
Mm-hmm.
allow them to be there even. And if we don't go into the next 20, 50 years with this concept, and we don't get back to nature, we don't get back into the natural connection, we won't wind up like the Atlanteans. No. It's going to be much different. We're going to wind up like the Greys.
Mm-hmm.
The Greys that came here and started this process in the beginning. We
Mm-hmm.
will be them because we are them, just in a different timeline. They went down the same exact path that we did. They got so organized and collected around technology and how they can, farm this and create that and genetically alter this and this, that, and the other. And all these concepts completely took them away from the connection to source energy. And then they had to dive directly into the earth because their habit was no longer habitable, because they didn't have love for the planet. So they just robbed, pillaged, and stealed from every corner of the existence of that planet.
Mm.
So to the point where they destroyed it. And then they had to burrow into a wormhole in a quote-unquote sense to come to this vibrational frequency, because we match and equal it in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And they're here to tell us, hey, motherfucker, if you keep going down this path, this is the potential. B, we really need your genetics if we expect the human genome to continue further. If we intend to make new versions of humans, that doesn't say it enough. That doesn't say it right. There, for lack of a better term, new versions of us, in a sense, the hybrids rather.
Mm-hmm.
And those individuals are being created yesterday, in the last now, in this now rather, and to come back to cross connect and correlate in the now, in the future, the next 5 years, 5 minutes, 10 years, 20 years, and it's all dependent upon the individual. It's a case-by-case basis. So if your neighbor is channeling and experiencing Arcturians, don't get disdained and despair that you don't. None at all. Just be happy that you have them in your reality. If you can perceive them in your reality, that means you contain it in your reality. That's the key. So you don't necessarily have to express it, but if you observe it, you contain it. So if you have the observation of it, then pat yourself on the back. Seriously. Because going into 2016 to 2035, in between those time frames, that's where we exemplify the love from our hearts. That's where we connect the silver cord through all people, through the heart. Because there's a modality that somebody has told, that I've heard a while ago, and I utilize it through most meditations. And it's simple. It goes, though our minds may be different, though our body forms may be different, It is through our heart that we recognize that we are all one spirit. And
Mm-hmm.
that simple saying connects me to whatever needs to be connected in that moment. And
Mm-hmm.
it of course you do it with a clear heart and a clear conscience, and with no obtrusiveness, like I'm gonna get them in here and I'm gonna take a picture of these suckers. Like, oh, come on, no. They're smarter than that. They're you. So you can't trick yourself. People still do. How many humans try to trick themselves from going down that habit or that choice, or that I know that girl's going to be there, and if I go there, golly, I'm going to get in her pants, and I don't want that to happen. They get all kinds of drama. Like,
Mm-hmm.
no, stop it. You're creating it yourself, and I
Mm-hmm.
think that 2017 is the highway that was paved from 2012 till now.
Mm. Yeah, and as we do come into a deeper awareness in every everyone every person's individual kind of perception is varied, and we're all at different stages for a good reason. There is the student, there is the teacher, and there is the one that masters all that has come before that. And we need to kind of realize that we need to extend our hands to the version of ourselves before us, so that it can all come together in balance, and that way we will see what we have long not have had within our perception of what we could call heaven, without the needless use of currencies, um, and from the really really question, and don't ever kind of limit yourself in um, reflecting, introspecting, and asking yourself in each moment, or each day when you finish work, when whatever you're doing, ask yourself in a 5-minute meditation. It all starts with a 5-minute meditation with a song that relaxes you, that takes you into that zone, and then working from there day by day, and knowing that you're not being rushed to get somewhere in a hurry. You can take your time on how far you get within the next year or next 5 years. You can do 20 years of progression into 3 years,
Mm-hmm.
and that's intense. Like, I won't deny that I had times where when I was looking into occult symbolisms and occult societies, and the way that the consciousness and the societal construct is manipulated, because we're uh, continuously giving away uh, the power that we do have, and we're 7+ billion people, and there's
Mm-hmm.
only a small percentage that are able to influence that, because they have knowledge, understanding, because they decided to maintain that sovereignty and power of knowing how to kind of mold things into their own self-serving kind of agenda. But ultimately, 99% of people here are heart-based, but we have been coerced into the thinking of that we aren't worthy, that we are born with sin, born with karma. We are born with karma, but it is experiences that we've needed to come into from our galactic incarnations down to the earth incarnations, to learn in order to expand, and encompass the whole. If you are to become the creator of your own reality, and the creator of ultimately the planets or a universe itself. You have to have the whole encompassing understanding from each perspective, and that way you can be eternally and infinitely in the heart space, in loving understanding and compassion of in each intelligence's experience. And so we go forth in just having good time and creating and moving beyond the barriers as we go.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's what it's all about. It's the continuation of action, because one can sit there and in a subverbal context in their mind start conversating and having ideas and intentions, and that's beautiful. That is fantastic. But we all know that our actions speak way louder than our words do. That's only because the actual physicalizedness of the action itself is what carries the energetical signature anyways. Words can work this way, but words were designed to be incantations and spells anyways. So they're only supposed to be a complement to the physicality already. The abracadabra, right? But there has to be the physicalization first, whether it's the wand or whether it's whatever the case is. You have to have the physicalization first in conjunction with the actual word. And it is intriguing, the idea of karma, because karma is a beautiful thing if you look at it that way. It's a negative thing if you look at it that way. It is whichever perspective and parameter that you view it from, if you will. If you lift up the curtain and you look at it from this angle, you're going to see certain things. But what ultimately, in my opinion, the notion of karma is it's a creation, a co-creation on a spirit level to allow yourself to deal with things that you weren't able to rectify in past creation or carnations. Because everything exists now. There's no reincarnation, no past carnations, no future carnations. It's all right here and now. It's just whatever you cross connect to right through the now is what you're going to experience. And so therefore, if it's beneficial for you to integrate the fact of racism right now, simply put, right? That's a beautiful thing, because it gives you the notion and opportunity to let go of it, because you may not express it in the now, but if you are experiencing it in the now, that means you contain it in the now. So therefore, it gives you ample opportunity to let go and decompress from the now. Don't be suppressed from it. You get to decompress from it. You get to allow you to diffuse it. It's almost like a box to throw things into, like, oh, yeah, I'm just going to throw that in there, throw it in there. And, the dissolving box in a sense. And it's important for me and my own sovereignty to be this. Not to necessarily, of course, to talk about it and all these good things, but the important thing is to be it. Like you're talking about Bruce Lee, the key to all of his teachings was being. Mm-hmm. Being. He wasn't saying, act like water. You must try to look like the water. But he said, when the water is in the teapot, it must become the teapot. It's not that, the water innately, it's the memory. The memory of the creation is innately in the water itself. So it's in us, because we're half freaking water or more than that. So therefore, when we put ourselves in a circumstance, we become the circumstance, and that's what gets so many people clouded, because they become the circumstances so much they lose sight of the door of what got them into the room in the first place. Mm-hmm. Because it's a perfect circle. If you don't know where you entered, you don't know where to exit. So the only way to get out of these kinds of things, if you get buried by your circumstance of negative things in your life, stand, like I said, in that balance point, that nexus point of your choices, of your decisions, and choose. And if you're choosing the wrong thing, ask yourself, what the do I have to believe to be true about myself to experience this right now?
Mm-hmm.
And then you get to dig below that surface and find all these beautiful nuggets. And going into 2017, people should have this as a slogan. What do I have to believe to be true about myself to experience this? And then they get
Mm-hmm.
all the answers they could ever desire about whatever they desire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, it's definitely a time where we really have to chase, or we should chase our highest excitement, as Bashar said.
Mm-hmm.
It, I
Yes.
like that saying very much because it embodies the highest frequency, the highest good that is relevant to you
Mm-hmm.
at that moment, and
Oh yeah.
by being present in choosing uh, the creation of that thought that's going to attract what's to come, then in each moment you can feel peace within yourself and like a stability, and it's easier to kind of let go, knowing that you're just having an experience and anything's possible, and um, creating affirmation, like using the words of vibration from your mouth spoken, the word um, uh, brings forth the adventures that each day can have, each moment, seeing the beauty of the golden yellow sun setting down in the afternoon,
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that there is a frequency, there's a code being expressed towards you, as well as interdimensionally, we are having elementals, we have other entities and people, our families, and versions of ourselves and connecting to us, and saying hello, we recognize what you're doing, we're very happy that you are chasing your purpose, and a good example of that would be probably on Tuesday, when this this really heightened feeling of frequency towards that end of the day, and the sun itself, what it was expressing. I could feel the intensity of what's to come for
Mm-hmm.
the 26th, and then looking at the photo when the light refracts, and you have the yellows and the different hues. Look in the corner, for example, if you have that opportunity, you see in the corner and the actual entities like little orbs that are popping up, little
Yeah.
faces. And it's that observance and that awareness, the awareness that you embody, that kind of unveils what is actually there within that frame, that picture. Um, and yeah, I mean, to tie it off, like you said, creating that awareness unveils what's behind the different layers of perception, and what's actually in each moment trying to help you when you align into your highest good.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just exciting that you're not alone ever. Um,
No.
I know it's a lonely road to go onto, and some people starting out on this journey that are listening to this might be like, yeah, but I don't want to let go, because if I let go of my old friends that went to a rave party with all the time every weekend, and what am I supposed to do? Like, it's the facade of belonging, when in fact you're not really you're not really um, belonging. You're just being part of something that you think fulfills something that you think you need, when in fact, um, when you come back to yourself, you are in fact attracting what uh, the people that are actually going to enrich your life and are actually there for you in each moment, and not just because your facade, your face is nicely decorated. I mean, or the costume that you put up, even for the fact that you're in awareness that it's all a facade and it's all about the look. It's not about just sharing the experience of this frequency, this music, and anchoring down the high frequencies into that collective kind of expression. You're fooling yourself, and you're kind of resisting the amazing adventures ahead. And in your own time as an individual, for anyone that is in observance of this interview, it's in your own time. Like I'm not telling you you have to do it right now, but just to plant the idea, like food for thought, and starting from the 1st of January, kind of, what do I want to do today? What tone do I want to set for today and the next week and the coming months? And in that way, you're able to go out and stand even at the traffic lights and think, okay, if I wait 3 seconds, what will happen? A totally different thing will happen. If I don't, then a totally different thing will happen. And then I'll wait 1 minute, so it's just really, that's helping you come into that present moment. You're practicing mindfulness, you're practicing being in the moment. And that's really, really exciting.
It's so exciting. It's almost like the story of my life for the past 6 years. I just to kind of give an example of how acting in these ways can really ramp up your life. Okay. So 6 years ago, I was living in Toledo, Ohio, United States, and I was living in a house with 4 other guys. We are all paying our piece of rent, right? I had the lucky opportunity to have the basement bedroom because that's just the way, the luck of the draw, right? That's just the way that I co-created it. And so I was living in my friend's basement, quote unquote, driving a vehicle that was probably 25 years old, 20 years, super. I mean, it was an antique darn near. Driving a car that was almost barely running, living in a friend's basement, working as a oil change lube technician at a mechanic shop. I was cruising along for a while, and I had a catalyst that happened. My mother passed away, but I took that as an anger thing, and so therefore, like after this catalytic event happened in my life, for the next like several months, I started walking around being angry, mad, just where did she go and what the hell, and she's not going to see my children grow up, she's not going to see me get married, and through this conversation subverbally in my mind, it was all prefaced on I, me, I. And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. So I took a step back and realized it wasn't about me. And in that very moment, I removed the selfish nature about what it was all about. Maybe it's not always about you. It's about the things that you can learn from it, sure, but it's not always exactly about you. And so I started looking at this from a perspective of, how can I get in contact with her? And so I was drawn to start meditating. And at the time, I'm still living in the basement and this, that, and the other. And I start taking my level of thinking a little bit higher. I started reading the books Conversations with God, which are written by Neil Donald Walsh. Amazing collection of books. If anybody out there has an opportunity to read those, I highly recommend it. And I started reading these books, and synchronistically, my father calls me, and he lives in Texas, Dallas, Texas, across the country. And he's like, hey, your mother passed away. You're in the house with the guys. He's like, you don't have any children. You're not married. Come on, just come out here, And I just recently lost my mother, so I desired a connection to family. Boom, go right out to my dad's house. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I can't change the people around me because I've always had these thoughts. I just didn't have an opportunity to really express it. So I thought to myself, if I can't change the people around me, I'm going to change the people around me. I'll just move. I'll move into a place that I feel comfortable in. And these are friends that I've known for my entire life. Really, really solid. They would do anything for me. They would take the shirt off their back and help. And they've given me money. They've fed me, all kinds of things in that time frame. And so by sheerly following my highest excitement, when my father said, come out here, I was like, oh, that seems exciting. And so I went with it. And when I got here, the next most exciting thing to do was go play disc golf. I went and did that. As I'm playing disc golf, I met this guy who was similar mindset. He was a little bit more of a stonerish kind of guy, but hey, we were getting along. We were having an amazing conversation about life and aliens and all kinds of other things that, I didn't really get an opportunity to talk about with my other friends. And in this conversation, I'm still following my highest excitement. We begin to hang out. We begin to develop a friendship. When I moved here to Texas, I knew nobody. I knew my father in a linear sense. I knew everybody, of course, because they're all me, right? But I didn't, intimately know nobody. I knew my father, and that was it. And then I met this guy, and Josh was his name. And so as I'm living at my father's house, I'm following my highest excitement. I get a job. I start working at O'Reilly Auto Parts. And as I'm working at O'Reilly Auto Parts, the guy that's at the counter is like, hey, my wife has a friend. Would you like to meet her? And I'm like, I'm on my low-flying disc. I'm living on my dad's house, sleeping on his couch. And it clicked. And I was like, who the F cares? Who cares? I said, sure, why not, man? I'm following my highest excitement. And at this moment, I still didn't know who Bashar was or anything of these natures. And I do that, and I go meet this woman, and I met my twin flame. So I wouldn't have met my wife if I wouldn't have let go of all these other people and all these other notions. And in the past 6 years that we've been together, we have fallen and exposed our mad love for each other. Not only that, but we've created a space for ourselves. I am now a current homeowner. I've bought and purchased my own 4-bedroom house. I have a decent job that I make money that I'm excited to go to, and I talk to people. I'm living my dreams. I truly feel like when I wake up in the morning, I live my dreams, because the house that I live in is way more, we'll just use a value judgment, is way more expensive than any house my family has ever even breathed in. Not even lived in, but breathed in. And for me to have this notion that my house that I live in is more representative of the abundance I have in my heart. Because I didn't know how abundant I was until I found out how abundant I was. Because abundance for me in the past was financial. But now my abundance comes in so many forms. Oh man, the abundance of the ears has popped out. Look at that. I said the abundance comes in the forms of gifts. It comes in the forms of favors. Comes in the forms of just all kinds of things. So if anybody out there is thinking to themselves, and mind you, my job paid $8 an hour, $8 an hour, and I manifested that job to triple pay. In 3 years, they paid triple. And so now, and the reason why I'm saying this is because anybody that's listening, whatever you make now, wherever you're at now, that is merely a jumping off point for the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. Because if you're not being true to yourself, there's an infinitude of moments. If you're not doing it, do it in the next moment. If you're not doing it, do it in the next moment. Don't be mad at yourself for being mad at yourself either. Because that was a big one for me too. I would get mad at myself. This isn't too spiritual. Stop it, Scott. But in actuality, it all is. So,
indeed.
I just wanted to share that with you and everybody else to let them know that there are ways to manifest destiny out of $8 an hour, out of disowning all of your friends and alienating everybody you fucking know. Like, there's so much growth that can come out of that unlocking. There's so much love that can be expressed that you're not deviating from.
Yeah.
I want to share that before we wrapped up.
Yeah, definitely exciting. Thank you for sharing that. I mean, yeah, going from that, it's, what else can we say? I mean, there's so much that we can cover, but
Mhm.
seeing as we are in recording mode,
Mhm.
uh, we
Part
can
two.
part two. We'll see for sure. Um, but yeah, as you as you tap into your inner wisdom, your heart space becomes that compass. And then from that, coming into what you were saying, being able to kind of saying yes to the opportunity that you see instead of
Mhm.
like, I don't know, I'm not sure, so I'm not going to take
Right.
it. But
Yes.
it's like that movie, like what I was going to say is movies as a reference point have been always trying to tell you a partial truth. Like
Mhm.
Jim Carrey in the Yes Man or whatever it was, where he
Oh
goes
yeah,
around and he goes, you know what, I'm going to say yes. You know what, I'm going to say yes. And he says
yeah.
yes to all
I
these
love
things.
that movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, and that's like I I didn't look at it intently. Like I've seen bits and pieces, and I saw that hey, they're actually telling you that in each moment that you interact with someone, there's an opportunity. But I mean, you have to be conscious of what it is that you are
Mhm.
saying yes to at the same time. But when you
Yes.
see that the opportunity is of your highest excitement, an opportunity to connect and network with people, to meet your twin flame, your soulmate, the person that you feel like strong connection with when you look into their eyes. It's like two lasers pointing at each other, and it making that
Mm.
connection, and it's just absolutely intense. Uh,
Oh man.
and it's not just local; it is beyond time and space. Like
Oh yeah.
me and my soul connection, my twin flame, meeting in
Mhm.
2014. It was like her reaction to seeing my profile picture is like, I need to know this guy. It was like he
Ah.
felt something in her heart space, just going, "Yeah, you should try to like message this guy." And she
That's
did,
awesome.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then from that, you go through exploring the experience, doing things like, oh, I got this Tibetan gamma wave frequency, this meditation track. Let's try
Mhm.
synchronizing together, even though we're 10,000 plus kilometers away from each other. Uh,
Mhm.
and from that, um, being comfortable within your space, doing things like throat singing, like Tibetan throat singing,
Oh
but
yeah.
then go raising from your root chakra to your crown chakra and your soul star chakra and beyond, your divine chakras as they call them as well,
Mhm.
going beyond that.
Oh yeah.
That really took my experience to the next level of the what Neo and Morpheus experienced when it went to that white space where you can manifest
Mm.
anything that you think of.
Mhm.
And that white space contained energy as well. So, what energy was I in? I was in that energy of heart space, that love. I want to really connect with that person, that girl, to see and feel what the connection is. And
Mhm.
the realization within that white space, that avatar that was within in that space was pure bliss, like bodygasm, like because
Mhm.
that higher frequency can be anchored into this physicality. And the vibration, your cells are still vibrating within your body, and it feels like a bliss, you would call it. In that moment, it's just love. You say, like I said,
Yeah.
I love you, and she said, I love you. And then
Mhm.
it was like um, going from that and moving forth and confirming, yeah, this is the direction I want to go. This is what I feel, and this is what I want to do. I wanted to give this a try and understanding what it is to really be in a relationship, um,
Mhm.
not with the construct necessarily of 3D, but beyond that, a culmination of a relationship, a marriage of a union of two energies, two
Mhm.
aspects, like they call them mirror or twin souls.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And these twin souls, one side can reflect what you need to learn with yourself, and you or I a reflection of what the other person has learned from you. And going from that, it's one of the most powerful frequencies to have within this space, and that's why separation is perpetuated, to stop that amplification, that potential to help unify the collective as a whole in a holistic sense. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Mm.
The words that came to mind when he was describing, that level of love and connection between the two was energetical matrimony. Is simply the marrying of energetical signatures in the either the eidolonic field or the spirit realm, where the blueprint, whatever you want to call it, it was a melding of energetical signatures. It wasn't in a sense that you were leaving a piece of yourself, but you left a piece of yourself, and vice versa with her. And it was a interaction that created a long-lasting connection, if you will, or just expose the connection that's always been there. Because that's the other thing. If you had the connection now, I promise there was a connection in another life, in another co-created reality. And now that you have the awareness of the other realities, it gives you much more momentum to create the connection in this one between her and you. And that drives across space and time. It drives across linearity. It takes the ocean and makes it quantum. It touches the higher self, her higher self, both higher selves, and it brings them together, because an aspect of the higher self and the aspect of her higher self, in a sense, was dovetailing together to almost, one could say, to create a whole new being unto itself. One that isn't in the corporeal reality, but one that is in the actual spirit realm, that supports the notion and the idea, and would usher and parent in the fact of you guys' connection from here on out of corporeal reality, until you remesh and remerge back into the ether.
Yeah. And I woke up this morning in regards to a meme that I found. It's like, be the source of creation through you, which was really interesting. But most of all, a message came through in my mind in regards to the unfoldment of the present moment and the individual journey. And that, as we kind of mentioned, sovereignty. And it's a short message, but I'll just read it out and for people to kind of take note and go from there. So, in the face of our future that unfolds in each present moment, we are the potential that becomes leaders of our collective journey as well as individual journey, each with a unique view, making the unified harmonic frequency, being sovereign and self-efficient and collectively. In the fractal and reflective nature of existence of, an example, a organism, harmony flows whether it's within the self or as the whole, in providing abundantly when all is one. In the experience of the many, each unique and beautiful experience of the spark of source, that we become an individual infinite intelligence of the divine in its own multidimensional, multi-talented potential, expression of the core self, yet also the source where all matter becomes into being, unconditional and exploration of all that is possible in all expression, in all its a balance with no stagnancy. If nothing changed, that would mean the death of the immortality of us, the soul, and the adventure that always lies ahead. I, you, we, one. Love is abundance and nurturing. We give ourselves unconditionally for infinite beauty of creation to thrive. So yeah.
Beautiful.
So that was that was a really nice message to receive this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The other thing that we could say as well is like when you live your life it opens up like a book when you live it on purpose. When you actually start not looking for purpose, but actually living on purpose. Like the
Mm,
things you do them deliberately. You do them because you say so, not because of any other reason, but because you say so in your heart. That's what you need to do. And there's a lot of folks that in a sense they do things because they think they have to. They do things because they think they have to continue the status quo, if you
mm,
will. But if the only thing you're going to status quo is status quo yourself right in the toilet and flush yourself right down it, you're going to
mm,
be swirling and perpetuating, the backslide. And unless and until you actually choose to do it, you'll have a few things in your life go your way, of course. You have a
mm,
few things in your life that will manifest in certain ways, and that coincident, not coincidence, but the coincident, like you're incidentally in the same spot that another co-created reality is, because you've vibrated yourself on that level, and so you've
mm,
drawn it in. So there's really no such thing as a happenstance, but it's a such thing as a coincident. Like you can be co-creating this specific moment with other people unknowingly. You don't have to
mm,
know that you're co-creating with them in the physicalized sense,
mm,
And so to all my beautiful friends, live life on purpose, not
mm.
for purpose, on purpose, deliberately. Because when you do it deliberately, the purpose comes inadvertently. And the other thing, that one side effect, because as I'm talking to you right now, my vibrational frequency is of course elevating. And as we're talking, one thing that will be an indicator for folks that are not really sure if they've raised their frequency or not. Like, how do I know? Like, a one physical attribute is your temperature, your body temperature will raise. You'll start to sweat. You'll start to get hot, and you'll be in a cold room. You could be in a refrigerator, and you'll start to sweat. Because
Mhm,
internally, what you're doing is you're switching on the DNA activation within your body, and the blood flow increases. You don't get a higher blood pressure, rather, but your blood flow viscosity increases. It pumps the blood through the organs faster. It doesn't create more pressure through the blood in that manner, but it actually allows more ventricle operation. It creates a wider capillary exposure, if you will. And so, therefore, the vibrational frequency that you're ingesting through your body, through your vehicle, you are expressing it through your sweat glands, through the internal body temperature of your body,
mhm.
because that's the way it translates. But
Yeah,
I definitely would. I do have to. I have a prior engagement here directly, but I
yeah.
definitely want to thank, thank, thank you, Jack, for this invitation, for this co-creation, and
Mhm,
for all of the ahas that I've received in this interaction. Because the greatest student is always the teacher, and the greatest teacher is always the student. So
mm.
thank you for teaching me, and thank you for showing and reflecting things to me that I've learned as well.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's my genuine heartfelt pleasure from my higher self and my physical self expression. And to finish off, as we go on that journey, going into the experiences, going to like spiritual expos like Mind, Body, Spirit and Festival of Dreams here in Australia, you're interacting and creating that potential of running into signs of your next step. Like uh, earlier in the year, it was all to do with reconnecting with Mother Earth and the sun and whatnot, and unifying that. And this card here came up, which is the balance card,
Ah.
and the message on the back of it, when I pulled it out of the deck, like you just connecting and saying, okay, I'll take this. It says, all is perfect just the way it is. Own and acknowledge every part of you, and you will find the balance you are seeking. And I was like, whoa, okay, fantastic.
Wow.
That's the.
It's interesting because me putting the synchronistic thing, because you never said that to me before, and I never heard that.
Mm,
About 5 months ago, back when you were probably doing these things, I made a video in my YouTube channel called Balance, and it
mm,
said almost the same exact thing.
mm.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
So I promise right now, our spirits in the ether
Mm-hmm.
are celebrating,
Mm-hmm.
are celebrating. And to everybody else that is listening, if you interact with a spirit member, if you interact with somebody from your soul family and you know it, man, the celebration on the other side is immense.
Mm-hmm.
It
Yeah.
truly is.
Yeah. And going from there, it's the next card for the next festival I went to was the transformation card. This one here, the snake, and
Mm.
that was just the next step. Like you've gone through and consciously stepped into the balance where you need to be at this present moment, and now it's time to go into the next chapter, because transformation isn't one thing. It's multitude. It's multidimensional. It is at all levels until it comes down and unifies as one. And that's where, as you said, your temperature is going up. Like for me, when I do healings right now, especially yesterday, I was radiating. I felt like a sun,
Yeah.
like a
Right.
like a sauna, and
Mm-hmm.
that's an indication of embodying the highest frequency, the light within you. And as you are embodying more light, more high frequencies, your higher self aspect will pop in, will be able to connect with you and
Mm-hmm.
deliver those experiences, taking it to the next level and becoming that which you are, that we all are. So, uh, yeah, finishing off my deep and heartfelt love towards you as a brother.
Yes.
Um, and
Absolutely.
yeah, the future is going to be exciting, especially where we put our intention and our energy behind it. So
Absolutely.
let's
Absolutely.
make it happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, we sure are. And
Mm,
till next time, my dear friend, my love to you as well. And I will hold down this portion of the world for you, and you do vice versa. And we
yeah,
will make this connection for sure.
yeah, and that's creating that network of connection and support for everyone else. So,
Absolutely,
mm,
absolutely. Much
so
love, my dear friend, Shivai, and I will definitely be in touch.
no worries. Until next time, love and light, namaste, and always stay grounded and also connected to the source in each moment, and enjoy.